Greetings and salutations, listener. You know not who I am, not really. But I know much about you. Your feelings on varying media, your fears, your favorite book, your childhood memories. The list goes on. Glad to see that you've made it here all right. Don't look so startled. I am merely an observer in what is going to become a wide, ever-branching story, stretching high into the blackening sky like the dead trees around you that reach towards the cold depths crying for salvation. Worry not, little one. I, much like you, am simply here to witness the story. You will forget me until next we meet, for after this, you are going to encounter all sorts of wonderful people and terrifying beasts, some of which may seem familiar to you. Be on your way now, traveler, and be wary of falling stars. A young man sits on the dock that hangs out over the murky depths of a lake. This man is Shane Watts, lead of the Northern Watchtower team. Right now, he is about 20 feet from his station on a break. He takes a long drag of his cigarette before blowing the smoke out into the slowly lightening sky. It was sunrise now, and he had promised his child that he'd be home by midnight. He was far later than he'd ever been before, and he knew all too well that Elliott, his child, would be angry with him. They never stayed mad for long, he recalled. This might be a special case. Shane had been out tracking a monster seen near a settlement. Apparently it was some sort of large wolf-bird thing. With everything Shane had seen since the collapse of society due to sudden violent urges of half of humanity and the blind following of a mysterious business that had appeared suddenly, mere weeks after everything had gone wrong, he would have thought that no new monsters could emerge. Suddenly, tires screech to a halt behind him, jolting him out of his thoughts. He looks up at the slightly battered dune buggy that's pulled up next to him. His boss. It's just his boss. The tall, tan-skinned woman emerges from the driver's side door, and she looks down at Shane with a slight smirk on her face. Slacking off again, are we, Watts? Shane pushes himself to his feet. Just on a break, Elira. Gotta get home so Eli don't start yelling at me. He chuckles, a raspy and tired sound as he smiles fondly at the woman. I see. Let me give you a ride home, then. She walked back to the dune buggy, climbing inside and gesturing for Shane to enter on the passenger side. He did so, barely having any time to close the door before Elira peeled out of the graveled driveway and into the blackened forest. Elliott stares at the door of the bunker, the low snarl of their companion dog Bone alerting them to something wrong. They grab the crossbow placed by their bed, loading a bolt into it and readying himself for whatever was going to come through the door. The claws of something large scrape across its metal surface, and it should have sounded like nails on metal, scraping, slightly grating, and soft. But no, this sound was as hard as nails on a chalkboard, as if something like a knife was being dragged along it. Suddenly the beast outside slams into the door, causing Elliott to yelp and jump back. Bone seems more alert, the three-legged dog crouching low as if to attack. Bone, down! Stay next to me, boy! The dog steps closer as whatever is outside slams into the door again. Suddenly the door is flung open, hinges pulling away from the wall as the large creature, similar to both a wolf and bird in nature and appearance, bursts into the house. Black feathers run along its back, overlapping the thick, dark fur. Large wings, sleek and iridescent, stretching from its shoulder blades. The thick black beak makes up the beast's upper jaw, while a wolf-like lower jaw hangs awkwardly half open beneath. Its sharp teeth are gleaming in the light of the rising sun as it filters in through the window behind Elliott. The thing growls, stepping closer to Elliott and baring its teeth. Back off, you mangy thing! It approaches further, a hungry glint in its beady eyes. Got 3 seconds before I put a bolt in ya! Step. 1. Step. 2. Step. 3! They fire the crossbow, the bolt landing straight in the beast's eye. It screams in pain and runs back off into the forest. Elliott's dad still wasn't home. Then again, when was he ever home on time? When did he ever really keep promises? They shook their head and got to work on fixing the door. Their dad was just trying to keep the northern settlement safe, so why were they mad at him for it? Elliott sighs and continues their work, letting it consume their thoughts. When was their dad going to be home? Hello, listeners. Apologies for the interruption. I am the beast who sees and knows all, Though you may call me the Observer, I have come to warn you of one Marcus Callahan. Nobody knows where he came from, but what I do know is that he is a danger to your experience within these woods. He is absolutely going to try and sell you some sort of violent nonsense about how you can't trust anyone, and how this world will burn to ash, and how it'll be everyone for themselves. He is merely a sleazy capitalist salesman trying to sell you his protection from a threat that is not real. On the topic of threats, the stars are flickering again. I've lost track of the beast of ever-growing life star, which is rather concerning, to say the least. I do not understand what is going on here, though I really should. I need to inform the beast between the stars immediately. They live closest to our superiors, and as such are the best to go to for delivery of information. Once again, listeners, do not listen to anything Mr. Callahan says. He is only trying to corrupt your mind and turn you to senseless violence. Hey! Who is cutting off my broadcast? Whoever is doing this, cease his behavior immediately. Son of a... Salutations, listeners. I am Marcus Callahan, here to bring you the latest and greatest innovations in this time of chaos and warfare. Today on the chopping block is... Oh my. It seems I didn't prepare anything for today. So how about a tale instead? I can entertain you with that, can't I? Long, long ago, there was a land of many kingdoms and many rulers. So many, in fact, that there was no room for any that died. All rulers that fell in their line of their duty were sent to live in the sky as stars. These kingdoms lived in peace, and day after day everything was calm and quiet. But the black sheep of the rulers, one of the youngest, he grew bored. And every day after boredom struck him, the young king asked to play, bringing his games all across the land of many kingdoms. One day, the ruler of the kingdom on the edge of the world agreed to play. The young king, overcome with joy, followed the other across many miles, playing games with them all across the vast space that belonged to the ruler of the kingdom on the edge, and falling madly in love with the other in the process. However, the other kingdoms grew wary of the young ruler, rumors spreading that his games were far too violent for the world they lived within. So, they confronted the ruler of the kingdom on the edge, telling him all sorts of terrible things about how the young king was going to destroy the stars in which the fallen rulers resided. While this, of course, may have been true, it was really all just to impress the ruler of the kingdom on the edge, show them how he felt and make them feel the same. The young king knew that if only they could see that his actions had been out of love, that they would understand the passion between him and the ruler of the kingdom on the edge, and they would cower as the sparks of their love set the world aflame, destroying all in their way so they may rebuild the world in their image, in the image of their collective power. They'd destroy it all, tear it all apart, and become gods amongst pitiful little creatures that were too dull to understand his love for the other. All others would die out at the whim of him and his lover, and they would rule all and build the world anew with their passion. And so the young ruler told his companion of his feelings. All of them. From how he adored them, worshipped them, to how he'd destroy everything with them to build the world again. And the ruler of the kingdom on the edge ran like a traitorous coward away from the only one who loved them. And they told the man who watched over all kingdoms, the King of Kings, about what had happened. And the King of Kings looked the way of the youngest and cast him out like he was nothing. And so the outcast did the only thing he knew how. He attacked, but he alone was no match for everyone else. He was overpowered and stripped of his crown, left for dead, all for wanting to play, and all for falling in love. And so he was alone. Forever. And that, listeners, is why you trust nobody. Love and affections and purity are nothing but toys for others to break. Oh, it appears my time here is up, listeners. But remember what I've taught you. Apologies for the interruption, travelers. Callahan is less than all the way there. Angry little man. I suppose it is time for me to take my leave. As you can see, travelers, This world's an odd one nowadays. Father and child, separated by work and by monsters. Salesmen telling tales of pure fiction to get to the heads of innocent people. Maybe it isn't so different from what it used to be, but still, it's more monstrous now. Far more so than it was before the stars began to fall. You take your leave from the forest for now, travelers, walking into the daylight from the thick branches of dead trees and the tangled brambles that rise from the ground trying to pull you back. This is certainly not the last time you will meet me, travelers. But for now, be on your way, and be wary of falling stars. Tale of the Falling Stars is an independent passion project podcast created by me, your host. It was created using all free software, sound effects, and music. All music and sound effects can be found at pixabay.com and are entirely royalty-free. To stay updated on the podcast, subscribe to the channel, and keep an eye out for any potential updates. Until next time, listeners, this is your host, signing off.